How many times have you looked at another creature and within seconds decided exactly what was wrong with them? How many times have you watched a bird fly and thought its wings were too short, or seen a wolf hunt and judged its stride as clumsy? We all want to be part of the pack, yet we spend our lives sharpening our claws to keep others at a distance. We all crave the warmth of the sun, but we are often the first to cast a shadow of judgment. And here lies the great paradox of the wild. We need the forest to survive, yet we wound the very trees that shelter us. Think about it. Why is it so easy to spot the missing feather on a neighbor's wing, but so hard to feel the thorn stuck in our own paws? Why does pointing out another's weakness make us feel, even for a fleeting second, like we are the kings of the mountain? Every day we roam through a world filled with invisible mirrors, but we only ever use them to look outward. We use them to reflect the faults of the forest back at it, never once turning the glass toward our own eyes. But what if there was a story that could change that? What if there was a lesson hidden in the fragments of a broken heart that could show you a different way to see? This is not just a story about a leopard and a crystal. It is a story about you, about me, and about the secret scars we all try so desperately to hide. Stay with me, because by the time this silence shatters, you may never look at another creature or yourself the same way again. High on the jagged, frozen peaks, where the wind howls like a wounded beast, lived a snow leopard who prided himself on his perfection. He didn't see the majesty of the mountains, he saw the cracks in the stone. He didn't see the strength of the eagle, he saw the ragged edges of its feathers. To him, the world was a flawed, messy place that needed his superior eye to judge it. He lived alone in a cave of ice, a place as cold and sterile as his own heart. In his possession was a rare fragment of ancient ice, a crystal that didn't reflect beauty, but exposed the hidden flaws of every beast it pointed toward. He called it his truth eye. With this crystal, he felt like a god. He would look down from his ledge and sneer at the limping bear, the nervous deer, and the weary fox. He believed that because he could see the dirt on everyone else, his own fur must be pure as the fallen snow. But the higher he climbed, the colder he became. He had won every silent argument in his head, but he had lost the ability to feel the warmth of a shared kill or the comfort of a huddle in the storm. He was the master of a hollow mountain, standing alone on a pedestal of pride, unaware that the ice beneath him was groaning under the weight of his own bitterness. Then, one morning, the silence of the peaks was broken. The snow leopard, consumed by a fit of rage at a clumsy mountain goat, lost his grip. The ancient ice, the source of his power, slipped and shattered against the frozen ground. It didn't just break, it exploded into 1,000 jagged splinters. The leopard fell to his knees, his breath hitching as he tried to gather the pieces of his identity. But as he looked into the first shard, he didn't see the flaws of a goat. He saw a reflection of his own eyes, filled with a loneliness so deep it frightened him. He picked up another piece, and there was his own arrogance, twisted and sharp. Another fragment showed his fear, the fear of a cub who thought he had to be perfect to be loved. Each shard was a claw tearing through his pride and into his soul. He tried to push the pieces back together, but the more he struggled, the more his paws bled. The blood was dark against the white snow, a reminder that he was as fragile as the creatures he had spent a lifetime mocking. He realized then that for years he hadn't been a judge, he had been a prisoner. He had been so busy hunting for the stains on others that he had become blind to the rot in his own heart. An old owl who had watched the leopard from the shadows of a pine tree for years flew down and perched nearby. She didn't look at him with spite. She didn't hoot in triumph. She simply sat in the snow, her golden eyes filled with a stillness that calmed the leopard's frantic heart. The crystal didn't break because you dropped it. It broke because it could no longer carry the weight of all the judgment you asked it to hold.
You thought that by seeing the cracks in others, you were making yourself whole. But look at your paws. You are wounded by the very tools you used to hurt the forest. The leopard looked at his bleeding feet and wept. He realized that the greatest war he had ever fought was the war against his own ego. And in that war, the winner always loses. When you win a fight but wound a heart, what have you really gained? When you prove you are the strongest by making everyone else feel weak, how much have you truly grown? The lesson was simple. We are all broken in some way. The wise beast doesn't hunt for the jagged edges of others. The wise beast acknowledges its own wounds first. Closeness requires grace, a way to stay near enough to share warmth, but with enough understanding to avoid drawing blood. Tell me, as you listen to the wind tonight, whose flaws have you been magnifying in your mind? Whose mistakes have you been carrying like trophies of your own superiority? And more importantly, when was the last time you looked at the cracks in your own reflection with anything other than fear? We all carry our own versions of that crystal. We carry the claws of anger, the pride of the predator, the sharp words of the scavenger. We face the same choice every single day. Do we stay safe and cold on our lonely peaks, judging the world below? Or do we move closer, risking the occasional scratch for the sake of the warmth that only togetherness can bring? This isn't about being perfect, it's about being aware. It's about realizing that the emptiness of cutting others off is far worse than the small wounds of living close to them. The next time your anger rises like a storm, or you find a sharp remark sitting on the tip of your tongue, pause, whisper to yourself, remember the leopard. That 1 second of awareness can change the direction of a life. Check your own heart before you point at another's thorns. In the war of ego, the winner always loses. No one survives the winter alone, and no one finds peace by being a judge. If this story found a place in your heart, share it. Let us learn to look with our hearts, not just our eyes, because in the end, we are all just broken creatures trying to find a way to shine together.